Watch the ride.
Hey everybody, hope you're all doing alright out there. So as you may know, I'm currently not on the bike as much. I need to rest because I had a silly little off. And I mentioned that I was going to be building this thing. I went to the shop to find a little project box to put this in when I came off the bike. People said, make a video on it, as you can't make other videos. And I was like, okay, fine, I will. It will mean I have to explain a bit of a strange story. But also I will get to explaining what this contraption is. Be interested to know if any of you can work out what that's all about. So this is a little pulse width modulated speed controller. They're only about 12 quid on Amazon. Really handy little device. You can put varying voltages into it and getting the same voltage back out. So you can put anything from 12 to 60 volts through this, up to 30 amps, but a continuous of 20. I assume it can do that. It seems a little bit high to me, but the things I'm using it for is basically 12 volt applications. So I can have 12 volts going on one side, 12 volts coming out the other side, and it gives me a button to turn it on and off and vary the speed via this and the display. Now this one is, I let the smoke out because I accidentally plugged this into a battery backwards, and you can see how I did that. It's because normally everything was plugged into these cables, which are on the correct polarity, and then I needed to plug it into a drill battery, so I just quickly grabbed these two leads I had so I could shove these in the slots using the spades, and forgot that these were different down here, and smoke gone. So I have a new one, but so I avoid this mistake and don't make it again, I'm going to actually build this into a box, and that's what this video is about. It's basically building a little box that you can plug one voltage into one side and get the same voltage out the other side and have the ability to control it. Now you can plug anything in the other side of that. You can put fans, water pump, just all sorts of things you can do. I have my new one. I have my little box, which I bought some different cable. This is, what gauge is this? It's 18 gauge. This is not going to be up to it. I'm going to be using much thicker stuff that should be okay. Yeah, it will be for my applications. I'm not going to put a load of power through this. And I've got a couple of these speaker connector, banana connectors. Sorry if you hear weird squeaking sounds. There's a plant rubbing up against the guttering. These are like speaker connectors, stroke barrels that you can unscrew, and it's got a hole to put a wire through, so it's like a universal way of attaching stuff. And the reason I got these is, I think, small... Do I have any small ones? Yeah, small bullet connectors should fit in these perfectly. There you go. And that's why I did it, so I can put banana connectors, bullet connectors, or I can just wrap a bare wire around there, whatever the application. All these gaskets and this chocker block all came with this. I don't need any of them, but I will use them at some point, I know that. So I'll just chuck these in a drawer. I will repurpose the cables that are on here. Obviously this is blown up, but in theory the button and the controller should be absolutely fine. It's going to just be something in there that's popped. Right, so I'm going to put that there, and then in the box I want to have these either side, so it's power in, power out. This really shouldn't take very long. It's just going to be cutting the square out of here, because this is designed to clip into something if you cut it out, so it's got some catches. So I basically need to cut out this exact size in here. So I need to align things. Masking tape, that's what I was looking for. Perfect. Just doing a quick eyeball. There to there. There to there. It's just slightly further over, so the centre's about there. Not that it really matters that much. So there you go, I've marked it out. I didn't want to be perfect, and I ended up trying to do it perfectly, which would mean that when it's not perfect, I'll be annoyed. So now I'm going to use a Dremel with a little cutting disc to just cut this out. Okay. Doesn't look very square anymore, does it? But there we go. And then that will click down in here. Okay, doesn't look too bad. The only issue with this, as you can see, is that the wires are all, the screws, should we say, are all on the top. So you can't put this in and then wire it from the back because you can't get to the screws. It's a real oversight in the design of this, but, you know, whatever, we work around it. In theory, if I take one of these and put it here, I can mark the holes for it. Put tape on like that to try and get a straight line-ish. Right, my hand drill is upstairs, so I'm going to use my pillar drill. I'm sure you can imagine what that's going to look like without me moving the camera around. There we go. Like that. But now I need to do the other side without these in, obviously, because I need to drill the holes. That. Using a step bit that just happens to be just the right size to trim the edge. Right. Okay, so we're going to have it positive this side. So it's locking washer, washer, nut, nut. So there you go, that's one end done. So we've got our holes put wires through, the banana connectors, bullet connectors. So we've just got to repeat that for the other side. As I say, I've been using this little speed controller for different things loose for a long while, and I just never really got round to... I always wanted to do this, but just never really got round to doing it. And then, just as I was thinking about it the other day, I managed to blow the other one up. So it was like, okay. Look on the back here, it's quite simple. It says power, positive, negative, motor, positive, negative. So we need to put the red one in that one. Be there, so I need about, what, that much? I can probably just cut this in half. About here. Yep. So now I need to connect these two to, I want power, what makes more sense? Power in this side or power in that side? Power in, power out? Well, you read left to right, so power in, power out. That makes more sense to me. So we need these ones to be connected to these, and these ones connected to these. Now, how am I going to do that? Am I just going to solder them on? Wait, now I really need to think about what I'm doing. If I'm soldering these on, it's going to be a real nightmare getting this top on and off. Oh, no, it'll be fine. Right, I think we can just push this into its home now. There we go. Oh, we need to do the... Oh, I've totally forgot about these. Duh. Right, what size drill do we need for this? Then what do I need for this one? I assume this just pulls off. Yes, it does. And then there'll be a nut that we can undo. Yes. It's like a tent. So it's the shaft. I'm going to use a step bit because this goes up to both sizes. So I need to pop that back out. Okay, that's not too hard. I need to clean up the edge of this lid as well before we finalise that. So, again, I don't need this to be perfect, but I can try and get some straight points. The locks. My God, some local dogs going crazy. Don't fall out, just fall off. Stay. Just deburr that hole. Look how perfectly that works. Right. You go through here. No. Back of that switch on. There's a few twists in that cable now, but meh, kind of keeps it neater. Then this one. Though I didn't, right, so that's off, that's on. So put it in the off position. Yeah. Okay, and then if we make sure it's all the way that way, what would that be? Oh, don't tell me it's between places, so I can't get it quite. No, I'm correcting that. A smidgen further around. There we go. Right. It's not looking too bad in here. We are back to this quandary of do we just solder these on? I'm also going to put some hot glue either side of here because this is in, but it does want to move a little bit. So if I put some hot glue in there, it'll just seal it. And if I ever need to take it out, dig it out with a screwdriver. So you can see I've put glue either side around the edges to try and keep it all in place, and it feels a bit more sturdy. While that's cooling down, talking of cooling, I don't know how hot this is going to get. I've never noticed it get that hot, and I think it will dissipate the heat okay. But if I notice this getting very toasty, I guess I'll have to pop these holes out to make air holes. But I'd rather keep it watertight. I mean, it kind of seems like it's stuck. Not entirely happy with the idea of this. So which one's that going to be in? Power. Honestly, don't like this bit. I don't think this is the best ideal way of doing this, but I can't actually think of a... I mean, I could wrap the wires in between and just crush them. Oh, wait. Don't do that. I know what to do. Whoever was screaming in the back, for the love of God, don't do that. Just put some little eyelets on it so you can undo it. You're correct. So I now need to get some wick. Knew I didn't like this idea, and I knew there was a better idea, and I just couldn't think what it was. As I've only got these connectors in blue, and I don't want to try and mix up colours again, I've turned some black with a pen, so I can then put those on the negatives. And these being pre-tinned is a great thing, because I actually prefer doing that way. I had an idea, I got some masking tape and some red Sharpie, and there you go, you got a red connector. You can go out that way. I can hear a couple of cats howling at each other. It's funny, when you don't have a cat anymore, because our last one died last year. Last year, was it earlier this year? No, I think it was earlier this year. Whereas you used to be like, oh God, is my cat getting beaten up? Is this going to be a vet's bill? Now you hear them screaming and howling and you just laugh. Like, I'm not paying for it. Honestly, cats mess each other up and it costs a fortune at vets. Especially if your cat's a bit of a scrapper. I don't feel like there's any great benefit of these tie wraps being on here. Right, so let's just double check. Motor positive goes to motor positive. Motor negative goes to motor negative. Power positive goes to power positive. And power negative to power negative. Plenty of space in there. And there we have it. Our little box that we can connect power on. We need to remember that it's in, out. That'll do for now. I will get some stickers or something. Right, should we test this? Okay, so we're ready for a little test. Put a negative into the negative power supply, and into the negative on the inside. Then we're going to put a positive from the power supply. This is just a 12 volt power supply. I've just had to squish that to make it fit a bit better in this one, because these aren't sized perfectly, but I went a bit far with that. There we go, nice. So, just turn this down. Screen on, perfect. So that's off, that's on. Okay, looking good. So for the first test, I'm just going to plug in this little old school motor. I don't know what positive is on it, because it's green and yellow. I don't know what that means, but it's just going to run backwards to my understanding if I've got it wrong, so whatever. So, positive to positive, not that it really matters on this side, negative, negative. So, negative, negative. So in theory now, turn this on. I'm not sure this was a 12-volt motor. What does it say? Well, let's see what the motor says when it hits 12 volts. Does it have memory? Yeah, it does. So that's basically what it is. It's just the ability to put whatever power you want in one side and up to 60 volts, 20 amps, and then control it out the other side with pulse width modulation. Now, let's answer the story of why I made that tube thing and what it does. So as I say, this is Mark II of a device that I came up with, and I'm going to dig through the archives from many years back now and find the original version. Now, as you know, I'm very much a fan of wildlife. I've really studied it in great depth for many years. I mean, you just call me a nerd, like level stuff. And I've run moth traps for years. And I am a fan of all insects. All insects have a place, generally. Now, when it comes to wasps, again, I'll defend them because they are a very important part of the ecosystem. They control pests. They are needed in the world. However, when I'm running a moth trap, or if I'm having a barbecue and there is a wasp's nest in my garden, then it becomes a problem. Because one, if you're trying to have a barbecue, you just get swarmed by wasps. Not just one or two, you get swarmed by them. And as it comes to moths, wasps are attracted to light, as are moths. But the wasps go up to the moths, they then grab hold of them, they start biting their heads off, they'll then trim off their wings, their legs, ball their body into a ball and fly back to the nest with it. They absolutely annihilate moths, and I've seen wasps, little, yellow jackets if you're American, or just common wasps here, take down an elephant hawk moth. That's a sphinx moth if you're in America. One of the big ones. It was horrific. It was utterly horrific. Now, as I say, they have a place, but I need to control them. Now, the problem is the nests are in the ground, so you can't really get down to them. I don't want to do it chemically. I don't want to pour soap and stuff down there because I've got to get inside a bush to do it. In both cases that I've had to take one of these nests out, it's been in the middle of a bush. So, what I did the first time is I had my power supply here connected to a smaller fan than this, running at 12 volts, which was more than that fan was rated for, but it gave it all one hell of a flow rate. And basically I put the tube up to, the nest entrance, exit, where they're all going in and out, and they would kept flying into the tube, and they would get sucked through the tube, through the fan, and would be minced. And then, of course, the smell, the pheromones they give off to say they're in panic, brings in more wasps that go down the tube, get minced, it brings in more wasps, and if you leave it there for a few days, you can pretty much kill every single adult in that nest. So as I say, last time I think it was just a cardboard tube with a piece of fan. I'm going to have to literally go back to my first hard drive backup to find this. It's not even plugged in at the moment, so I hope it works. This is much more advanced because this, as you can see, are PC fans which light up. Now, in the evening, from the perspective of the wasp, they see a bright light through a tube, which looks like a bright, clear path through the leaves to get out of the nest. But it's not. They get minced. It's highly effective, it is brutal, but it is what it is. This was just bodged together with whatever I could find, and I needed a length of cable to allow me to control this as far away from the nest as possible. The night that I deployed it, I had to go in a couple of times just to agitate them, and I got stung once as I was coming back down the garden. There we go. So obviously these have a minimum voltage, so it needs to be at about 41 to get started. So obviously the way this works, you've got two fans I've screwed together. I've then got a piece of cardboard that I screwed bolts through to attach it to the back fan, and I've cut out a circle through the cardboard to give me a gasket basically. I then got a funnel, and I cut a funnel down so it would join onto the tube at the same size, and I've connected it with aluminium tape. I hot glued around all of this to make sure it was all sealed and all held in place. And then on the far end, I took another piece of that funnel, I cut it out and I put it in here to reduce the size down to give me a bit more suction. So there isn't a huge amount of suction here, but it's enough that should a wasp go in there, it's only going to be coming out one way. This way in several pieces. As I say, don't make one of these just to go and attack some random wasp that doesn't deserve it. But if it's ruining your garden, then there's plenty of space for wasps. Other places. Do you want to see that on 18 volts? 1 second. Okay, this is where I have to be really, really careful because I'm doing a dodgy thing again. I am going to 3D print one of those tops you can slide onto, like this is a Bosch battery, that you can make it a set pack with wires coming out of it, so you don't have to worry about polarity. But, as long as I pay attention to what I'm doing, positive, positive, positive. We are positive, it's positive. Negative is to negative. And we are good. So now, this fan is going to be run at 18 volts. So it should start at what, 20%? 30%? Yeah, there we go. Now if you do this, it will burn them out faster, but I can tell you this much. These fans will take 18 volts for hours while mincing up wasps. Now they're cruising. Now you've got some relatively good suction on here. So there you go, that's the little thing I wanted to make. As you can see, this has got so many different applications to be able to put anything from like 12 volts up to 60, up to 20 amps. I don't know if I'd push it that far. And have the ability to just connect whatever in this side, and on, off, adjustable, and with a repeater. Really handy. From memory, this speed control is about £12. I'll put a link in my Amazon store. You got this little box, which was about £10. It's not the strongest one of these boxes, so it's perfectly good for this. It's a little bit flimsy. It's got more, or shall we say, it's like a softer plastic rather than the hard, brittle plastics that you normally get in junction boxes. But it did come with all those grommets and the choco blocks. The banana connectors were, I think, £2.50 for the pair, so you're looking at less than £25 for this thing. And it's something you can just grab. Say if you've got battery packs, you can just stick those into it and you can adjust it. So there's a million applications that you can apply this to, because it gives you the ability to put, say, power in from a power pack up to 60 volts, or from a battery that you can bring with you, and then you can plug whatever you want into it. I mean, I've got this here, which is it's a 12 volt motor that's a water pump, and I made a joke video with this. If you search Spice 110 red button, it'll come up. Or what does the red button do? Hopefully it comes up and I'm actually searchable still. If you've seen this and gone, that is, yes, I need that because I can use that with, I'd love to know where you would plan to use it with. Keep it clean. Anyway, if you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button and subscribe. And if you'd like to help support this channel, please consider doing that through Patreon and YouTube messages. Normally this is a motorcycle channel, although I do lots of techie stuff too. But as I say, I'm currently out of action, so I'm doing what I can. Huge thanks to all those people that do support me, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye-bye.